the antisocial network.
Yeah. Mask up, stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah, right.
Aaron, our co-host.
Welcome once again to YUH with Lisa, Phil, and Aaron. This week we're talking to Matt Smith.
Yeah, okay.
Not,
So we
not to
stumbled
be
through
confused with Doctor Who, right? How often do we get that?
Well, believe me, there's another guy who just emailed me and said, "Hi, my name is Matt Smith as well, and we have a record store in Tampa, Florida, and we have your record here, and we thought maybe we're going to have a Matt Smith convention, and we thought maybe you'd like to come and play at it." And I'm like, "What do you do at a convention? Only people that you have in common with is your
That's
what if there's
crazy.
an emergency phone call?"
Right. Well, Beatrice, she sent me your information, and I kind of lost track of the email, and I searched Matt Smith online. I was like, oh boy, I had to find out the name of the album in order to make the link up, But I did.
And at a Matt Smith convention, I would think they would maybe issue numbers.
I would have to. I don't think I would go.
They issue bow ties because
I
of
would be
the
like,
Doctor Who guy.
Oh,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
you're
that'd
the
be
Matt
funny.
Smith, the dentist, and I'm Matt Smith, the guitar player. Not to be confused with the original guitar player from Poison, whose name was also Matt Smith.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but it could be kind of. I think if there was a Lisa Huey or Lisa Powell convention,
CC to Matt Smith.
I would probably go.
But
CC
what would you talk about? That's my and
Just to polite conversation. I'm
Okay.
sure there'd be stuff scheduled and events. It could be a networking thing for people in business.
You could talk about
You could
zany
meet
mix.
their musical Matt Smiths. Maybe you could put together a band called
The
the
Matt
Matt
Smiths?
Smiths. Yeah.
That's a fantastic idea, actually.
Yeah.
That is an interesting idea. You'd need a drummer.
Hmm.
You'd need keyboard player or bass player.
Then you need a horn section, but the problem
Yeah.
would be all the backup singers named Matt Smith.
How many Matts?
Yeah.
How many Matt Smiths are going to be?
And then would be like, would anyone really care? Because it's not there.
All the
and
Matt
they know, but
Smiths.
it's
You'd have a
like-
whole convention of people that care.
Yeah.
I guess
It would be.
right.
It's just
They'd probably all buy the Matt Smith album on their way out.
Well,
right.
maybe
Exactly. That's
Be
the other
great
thing.
place to
You
sell your
take-
merch.
You take your album.
they would.
It's a merch
Anyway.
situation.
It's a
Well, Matt-
win-win.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You had a special guitar in your hands just a second ago, and you're about to
Yeah.
tell us about it. But I wanted to
Well-
make sure we got it on recording because that's the type of interesting information we like to bring to the podcast here. So,
Well, this here is it's been through 5 generations of my family, and it was passed down to me over the years. It's a tiny little guitar. Either this is a tiny little guitar, or I'm absolutely enormous, or I'm very small. And now I'm
Yeah.
very small,
Mhm.
and now I'm really big.
Yeah, it's kind of like a really large violin.
yeah, I was
Put your
wondering if there's a
3D glasses
ukulele.
Like
on.
John Candy,
now.
yeah. 3D House
Anyway.
of Beef.
So anyway, this guitar is originally, I found out it was passed down, and my mother used to play this guitar when it was strung with nylon strings as a classical guitar, and she would play it, and I would lay my little head on her knee and listen to her play when I was just a little kid. And then
Aw.
over the years, it hung above the mantelpiece in their house, and I would always look at it and I go, I remember this little guitar. It's amazing. It's Brazilian rosewood, which is a beautiful, beautiful wood. This is what
Yeah,
wood
that is
looked like
pretty.
back there,
Right.
Brazilian rosewood. It looks like a chocolate river, so that's what
Yeah.
it is.
That
And so
is
anyway,
beautiful. Well
when my
preserved.
father passed away, my mother gave it to me, and I had it restored. And then when I got it back, I sat down and I started playing it, and I stuck some microphones in it and recorded a record called Parlor. And it's just instrumental pieces that I would write on this particular song, as opposed to vocal songs like most of my other records are. It's just one guy, one guitar, one take, all the mistakes and everything. So
Awesome.
I could play you a song if you'd like to hear it off of there.
Would love to.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So this one is an instrumental song. It's probably the hardest piece I've ever written. Sometimes I can play it, sometimes I can't. I was wanted to make it sound like an echo, kind of like what the Edge does with U2, this kind of triplet echo sound. So I wanted to make 3 sounds at once. So this is how it goes. This one's called Daydreams.
hardest one you play?
Gonna bail on that one because for some reason I'm forgetting about it because I'm watching myself, and that's a big mistake. That's a big mistake, by the way, all you guitar players. Don't watch yourself playing live. Just like look at the guitar. Let me try that one more time. And you can just edit this out.
Okay, certainly.
Stop that.
No, it sounds much better on the record. That was like a really bad version of it.
No,
I
that was
was
beautiful.
off my game.
The instrument sounded
You guys threw me off
fantastic.
my game.
Well, fortunately for you, we don't know the difference. At least I
Well,
don't. Aaron might.
But this guitar has a beautiful, beautiful tone to it. As you can see, it's what happens to guitars when they get old. They this one's almost featherweight because they start to petrify, and all the sap in the wood turns to crystal, and it makes it sound absolutely stunning.
It's almost like a barrel that you make bourbon in or something. It has to be
Absolutely.
seasoned.
The older it is,
I was going to ask you about
like
that.
humans, much like humans, the older
I
we
know.
get, usually the more we have to talk about, unless we start telling the same stories over and over and over again.
But
I know Trey Anastasio
done
from
that.
Fish has all his electric guitars are built by like his personal luthier, pretty much, Paul Languedoc, but his acoustics are these 100-year-old Martins.
Sure, I have several of them here. Like that one.
Yeah.
That one actually, that was made in Boston by a company called Thompson and Odell, which made mandolins and banjos around like from 1870 to 1910, and then they were acquired by Vega, which was later acquired by Martin. So it's kind of has that lineage in it also.
it's
Oh,
kind of
cool.
priceless, that guitar.
Well,
That
I
makes
don't
me
know if
think
it's
of, well, to you.
To you, it would be.
Yeah.
well, it's a family heirloom, sure.
Yeah. But I just thought of Willie Nelson and Trigger, or not Trigger. That's his. Isn't that what he calls guitar?
Yep,
Trigger.
he sure
It's like
does.
a big hole in it. It's like it looks like it's an old, worn-out shoe or something like that. But
Well,
he
they
still
have
plays it to this day.
They have this one I love because it's small and I can hold it, and it's it's easy to hold on to. It's easy to play on the couch and stuff like that. And so anyway,
Yeah.
it's
No, they're-
Awesome. Great song, great instrument.
well,
Yeah, it had a great
Thanks.
tone to it.
So let me ask you this: as a person who likes older guitars, how do you feel about when rock bands or punk bands destroy their guitars on stage for
I
effect?
think it's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I do. It's as a musician, I've always been kind of like I enjoy poking the bear, as you can hear from that last record. So in other words, and when people do some musician, I would rather see them give it to someone who, for example, I've been blessed with a lot of instruments and a lot of beautiful instruments, and when someone needs one, and if I have a guitar, I'll pay it forward and give it to someone who can use it more than me. I think that kind of thing is important. So while I understand the shock value and the theatrics of smashing guitars, obviously, you got to remember Pete Townsend started that stuff, and that was like he had a gazillion guitars, and he would put them back together. He would use them again. Yeah.
I didn't know about that
Oh
part.
yeah, no, they would put them back together. You can't just keep smashing Les Pauls because they're like they're super expensive, and so he would have his roadies put them back together and
Interesting.
use them again.
That'd be a good Elite Eight. Who's the best guitar destroyers of all time?
Yeah, well, I think probably Pete Townsend was the guy.
Townsend and Hendrix are at the top of my
Hendrix,
list.
yeah. Well, but Hendrix, yeah, he would destroy them and set them on fire.
Right.
So he went the extra mile.
Yeah, Frank Zappa revived one of the burned guitars.
It would even be better if someone destroyed them, burned them, and then ate them. That would be the next level.
Yeah, right.
With a fine bottle of Chianti.
That would take the cake.
Either eat them or use them to cook something.
Yeah,
use them
even
as
better.
fuel.
Or go into battle with the pieces, maybe.
Yeah.
In a loincloth.
Well, I guess it's ceremonial. It's kind of like you're almost honoring it by destroying it, I guess, in some respect. It's the ultimate act of defiance against authority or something.
I guess that's what it is. I guess.
I just had an idea. The band could set up a raffle to win one of their guitars, and then they could come out on stage and pretend they were going to do it, and then call out the raffle winner. It could be a raffle, or it could be each seat. Yeah.
There you go.
Sure. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And the raffle money, of course, would go to a local music
So you're not
program.
putting
Cool
that
rock
one
or
back together.
This is all very wholesome.
yeah.
It's not very
Yeah,
rock and
well.
roll at all.
God damn it, we're a wholesome bunch.
Okay.
We're Cincinnati.
All
We're
right.
in a more hip area,
Well, yeah.
Austin, Texas.
I-
That's where the music is
yeah.
very.
I'm pretty reclusive. I mostly just stay in my studio.
Yeah.
You go
I
home.
stay up here on my mountain.
Right.
You got a mountain?
We mostly
I'm on the north face of Mount Pinus in Pine Mountain Club, California.
Oh, nice.
how
I was
much
just out there.
Hidden
how much
away.
land do you have with that, Aaron? That's
I don't know.
yours.
I'm not sure how
Or
far
does
up
it-
the mountain my land goes, but I don't think very much.
Is it the Lord of all you see? One of those things? As
No.
far as I can see, this is my land.
As far as I can see, there's another house across the street.
Okay. So this little square is my land. That's what I say too.
It's a big square, but I'm in the middle of a national forest. I'm
That's
surrounded
beautiful.
by pine trees. Yeah.
Whatever happened to that guy that was out there ripping down pine trees right next to the lot right next to you? Did they ever
He's,
apprehend him or what?
No, it's his lot, but he's not supposed to cut that stuff down without going through the environmental control guy here.
Right. Well,
And
that's-
I don't know. He paid a ridiculous amount for an empty lot during COVID, like 8 or 10 times what it's worth.
wow.
And
So you've had a
and
discussion.
it's going to be hard to build on. Well, I've been learning about the guy since. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
There's some trees that he's not going to be allowed to cut down, and he's not going to be able to build much more than a little tiny shack there.
Well, maybe build a tree house.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. So you say you don't get out much, but Austin has this vibrant music scene. Austin city limits.
Having said that, people come to see me in the studio all the time. So I'm
Yeah.
always, mostly I work pretty much all day, every day. And I'm only because there's nothing I would rather do than this. A friend of mine said to me the other day, do you have any hobbies? And I said, no, this is what I do. This is my hobby. This is what I love. Maybe I could be more well-rounded, but everything that I do has always been involved with music, and either the teaching of it or the production of it or the examining of it or the producing of it, So that's what I've always loved to do. And I have this kind of dream come true here at Six String Ranch, which has all my equipment, all my stuff in it, and I can just
Does it become like a hangout? I mean, do you have like your students? Do they kind of come and they're in their downtime even? And
I'm very, very, I have quite a collection of instruments here, so I'm very, very careful of who comes in.
Got it.
So, and only because of that, that's the New Yorker in me.
Mhm.
That, obviously the best security is keeping a low profile.
Right.
So did you grow up in New York?
I grew up in Clifton Park, New York, which is in southern Saratoga County, in upstate New York. But then from there, I moved to New York City, and I lived in New York City for 15 years before I moved down here to be close to my mom and dad, who had retired down here. And I was like, well, thank goodness you retired here instead of somewhere in Florida or something, because it happened to move to one of my favorite cities. And I do play and I do perform, and I'm very, very involved in music. It's just that I just don't go out and hang out in bars,
Right.
basically.
Turn on PBS, watch Austin City Limits.
Usually what I do really is fall asleep early and get up super early and go for a long walk and think about music. And that's where I write a lot, is in my
That's your
walks.
hobby,
Yeah.
long walks. I was going to say my hobby's hiking.
Yeah, no, you have beautiful mountains here. But we have a lot of beautiful trails here. It's just that
Yeah,
right
Austin's
now,
awesome from what I understand. I haven't been
right
yet.
now we're in peak pollen season, and it's
Yeah.
just I never had allergies till I moved down here.
Mm.
And it's just like boom, especially now.
Yeah, a lot of people say that about Cincinnati.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
actually known as internationally as Sinus Valley.
Wow.
Well, I'm in a pine forest. We do get our share of pollen days.
Yeah.
And
But you're not in the
I've discovered
fire
that
zone, right?
no,
Good. So
knock
far,
on wood, we've
Yeah.
never had a fire in Pine Mountain Club.
beautiful.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this cool album that you did recently. Your most recent, your 20th album, from what I
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
This is not okay. Now, this is not our political podcast, but I think that after listening to this,
We'd like to have you on that, maybe.
I think we're in alignment with a lot of what you were, writing
I
about on this album.
I think it's important to mention that the record is actually a record of trying to heal division while still, as I said in my statement, while still maintaining my anger about what's being done to basically, what it is, let's face it, my thing is not right or left, it's ethics and morals. To me, it's what's right, what's wrong, is beating people up or, without any repercussions or everything that's happening that most of us feel without getting political is a lot of these things to me are very much issues of what's right and what's wrong.
More and more,
Regardless of-
the right and left are different moralities, it seems.
Well,
Yeah.
regardless, I'm a centrist Democrat, but I've also have lots of family members and lots of dear friends who are Republicans. It's not that faction of Republicans that I have a problem with.
Right.
It's
True conservatives aren't our issue. It's
No,
MAGA.
but really, even saying that, I think aligning yourself with or supporting really heinous behavior on any level, whether it's right or left, or Democrat, Republican, socialist, communist, whatever flavor of religion or political slant, to me, we're mostly, I think by and large, all of us have a sense of morals. But it's interesting because to me, there's interesting kind of discussion between ethics and morals. That's really what I was confronting with my record. Ethics are right and wrong, good and bad, in my view. Morals are abilities to twist what those are as it pertains to your personal school of thought. So you can say, I would never steal unless I had to feed my children, and there was no other way to get food. Is that so? In other words, then you're like, no, I will not steal. I know that's wrong, but if I have to, or for example, to kill someone to keep your children from being killed or yourself from being killed, these are really interesting.
Measure of what's worse,
discussions.
letting your children die or stealing. Yeah.
Yes. In other words, so then we're talking about ethics versus morals. That's really what I was trying to discuss with this record. And again, I've always been pretty socially conscious with my records. not like that's what it's about. Obviously, on my record, there's also, it deals with the concept of understanding that I have much more of my life behind me than ahead of me. And at the same time, dealing with the inevitable deaths of our parents that happens as we become orphans. All of these things that I just, I turned 66 this year, and now I'm examining other things in my life that matter to me, and humanity that matters to me. And I see a lot of people make mistakes. For example, we all have dysfunctional friends. We still love them, but we know they'll end up doing the same types of things over and over again. But we still love them, but we're like, well, this is what you do. This is something, I still love you, but you really have to probably stop doing that behavior.
Still love you, but I can't let you in my studio with my instrument.
Yeah, right.
Or please don't bring your whiskey into my studio. Please don't do that.
Do not call me when you're drunk or high.
Yeah, exactly.
I've actually said that to my brother. You have one drink, you don't call me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to listen to you pontificate drunkenly for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
again, this is kind of what societally I'm trying to address, because that's exactly what it seems like what's happening right now. Where I've always understood, as someone who's traveled extensively playing music, I've toured extensively for many, many years. My kind of recent withdrawing from things has really been over the last 10 years. But up until that point, I toured and played every night and traveled all the time and made the scenes. And then at a certain point, I'm like, okay, I've done that. I've traveled. But one of the things that I've learned in traveling is that we are a truly unique experiment, this country. And we're also a very new country compared to other much older countries. For example, in scale of time versus a lot of European or Asian countries, we're only 250 years old. And so we're really kind of an adolescent country, as opposed to other countries that have been around for thousands of years. And so we seem to have, but also we're also this giant experiment of diversity.
yeah. Well, we're showing our adolescence for sure.
Yes,
right now.
we sure are. And so in other words, you'll notice the first song on my record, World is a Wheel. There were songs I took off my record because I realized I was falling into the same, the difference between anger and contempt. If you're contemptuous of somebody, you can dehumanize them, and that's what happens. The other is dehumanized, and therefore, that's when bad things happen. If we dehumanize, so I'm not going to dehumanize anyone, or I'm not going to have contempt. There's a huge difference between being angry about something and having contempt for someone.
Right.
And if we have contempt for someone, that's when bad things happen.
Well, I'm wrestling with that myself right now. I think everybody in this chat is. Aaron said some very wise words a few weeks ago that
Resonate.
there's room in this, on this bandwagon for everybody, even all the way up to even yesterday, maybe they were, someone was supporting some of this brutality and stuff like that. There's always room for someone that sees the light.
Always room to jump off that bandwagon.
Jump off that one.
And as we all know, there's always the ability to evolve and to change. However, there are other things that we can't allow people to be murdered on the streets. We can't, there's no, under
You've
no.
got to draw a line at some point.
Yeah, no, and this is what this record is. This is what I'm saying. Where is the line? What is the line? How many people have to die or be hurt, or how much damage will have to be done before we're like, oh no, I didn't vote for this. This is because, as it's always been, they start with, you've all read this. They started with these other people. I closed my eyes, and then they were gone, and then they came for these people, and pretty soon they came for me. In other words, this is the inevitable fact of this.
We're living through that poem, yeah.
Well, you found a way through music to demonstrate your concern, and I think that I'm trying to find ways, even with my own family, to show my
Bridge
concern,
back out.
not continue to
Rehash the same arguments.
you don't want to cut anybody off, but you got to demonstrate. You got to find a peaceful way to demonstrate that it's not okay. Just like this is not okay, and that's what I struggle with. We do our podcasts, and I'm starting to do reels and stuff like that. But I'm trying. I realize I have to back off a little bit. I'm a little bit amped up, right? But
Stop watching the news, man.
You've got to watch a little bit less news.
That's a good point.
I suggested that he watch enough to get one or two possible F-ups or stories.
Read your news. Don't watch anything on TV. Don't get news when you want news. Don't let them have it spit it into your ears.
It's interesting because all of us are in social media space. Obviously, for me, I have to be able to promote my business, what I do, and also my music through social media. But the other thing about that is I've learned to compartmentalize what I'm looking at and understand what I'm being fed and how I'm being fed it. It's the same thing with all media. We all tend to gravitate towards our own echo chambers of what we choose to believe. And so what happens is that I'm not going to, I posted something, I protest not because I think I'm going to change anyone else's mind, but I don't want my country to change me and my own ethics and my own sense of morals. As I said, this is a, maybe I didn't say it, but this is a pivotal time in history, as consequential as just before the Civil War. And because what was happening, I just read a book by Eric Larson. I forget the name of it at this second, but it examines the South just before the Civil War. So it's right after Lincoln was elected, and the divisions that were happening that were very similar to today. And so we have to acknowledge it's not just this country. The entire world is very nationalist and very, very largely racist. And it's not, I think we try to understand how to make ourselves better humans and try to evolve who we are, but we can't change anyone else's mind. All we can do is try to spread light into the world as much as we can in whatever way we can. If you look, the last record I did before this one is called Into the Light. And it was at the end of the pandemic. I recorded a record, and that record was largely a joyous record. It was a joyous celebration of life, which is what I needed. The first term of this guy was over. Pandemic was over. It seemed like, but interestingly enough, and this is, I don't want to take over the conversation. And
no, go ahead.
It's your conversation, man.
Interestingly enough, there was a sense of joy and a sense of possibility. But I also understand very, very much that we have never come to terms with the pandemic. We just moved on instantly. We never came to terms with all the people who lost their childhood, all those kids who lost those several years that are super important of social developmental that happens within schools and public things. We never dealt with all those people who died. And what happened during that, we just kind of went, good, phew, that's over with, let's move on. But largely I can trace this whole where we are now. There's a song I wrote on 2 albums ago called Being Human, which is another record I put out. And there's a song on there called How We Got to Here, and it traces this history. But it traces the history really from the first Gulf War, when we had our first 24-hour news outlet. And I'm like, this isn't good because there's not enough news to talk about 24 hours. So what that did is it gave rise to punditry, and punditry is opinion, not fact, but it was presented on news channels. So people started to accept it as fact. And then they're like, well, I saw it on the news. This guy says this is what's going on, and I believe it.
Alternate
because
facts, that
yes,
type of
and
thing.
so I attribute this to the rise of the 24-hour media, and then the massive proliferation of the internet. And this is just what happens. You have to understand, not everyone is capable of critical thinking. They
Mhm.
just kind of consume,
Right.
and that's not a question of anything other than I don't know. This is why I feel, for me, the only way I can deal with this stuff is through music. It's how I deal with grief. It's how I deal with love. It's how I deal with what I see around me, or injustice, really.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that song, Matt.
All right. This whole record was written in a massive. There was what happens. I'll say this first. As a creative, a friend of mine said something to me one day. A great musician from New Orleans, Mark Rubin. He said to me one day, he goes, "Every morning you wake up and you get a $50 bill of creativity. And what you do with that creativity is up to you, but that's all you get that day. So if you're doing a gig, or if you're thinking about something else, or if you have to use your creativity to solve certain issues, you're not going to write that day. However, tomorrow morning, there'll be another $50 bill of creativity on your dresser." And so what happened is I've been super, super busy nonstop in my studio working on albums for different clients. And then all of a sudden I saw a hole come up, and I decided not to fill it because I had stuff to say. So I gave myself a window of $50 bills. So what I did from June and July, I wrote and recorded all those songs.
Wow.
And so what happened, it was pretty much every day I would go out on the back porch of the studio, and I would sit there and I would write how I was feeling about things. And so on July 4th last year, I wrote "Cry for America," and I researched that America the Beautiful was public domain, so I could rewrite the lyrics. And I used the lyrics and I rewrote them because I was horrified. At that point, it was really about free speech. And all of a sudden they were shutting down Jimmy Kimmel and things like that. And this is a fundamental issue of who we are. And I noticed that artists weren't speaking out. They weren't. I mean, you had Bruce Springsteen and Neil Young very early, and they gave me the impetus to write this. And I also believe that if I, as a relatively unknown musician, was unafraid to lose half, I don't really care who likes me. I really don't. I don't make music to be popular. I make music because I have to, and I have something to say. And so I rewrote the lyrics to America the Beautiful. I called a dear friend of mine, David Webb, who plays piano on that record, to come in and help me reharmonize it in kind of a Ray Charles kind of vibe. And then I wrote all the lyrics. I came in and did a demo for it with just piano and vocals. And then I called in 6 other singers to sing the whole song. So I brought in Black, white, Hispanic, Jewish, Arab, pretty much anyone I could think of to each person to write. I had everyone sing from their heart, from the bottom of their heart, the whole song, and then I edited it all together, and I combined all the voices at the end. So that's what you're hearing, are these different singers on the song, including me to start it out.
Yeah, beautifully done.
Did they all come to the studio, or did some of them do
At
it
different
remotely?
times. No, they all came in the studio.
Cool.
These are all friends of mine, and I explained it to them. I read the lyrics to them. I let them hear what I was doing, and I said, please, don't hold back. Sing from your heart. Let people know how you feel. If you believe the words I'm saying, and the words are not, the words are pretty much, let's stop this for me. This is not right. We have to stop. We can't keep going down this path. And I still believe this. So that's my preface.
Yes, beautifully done. So you have this face-to-face relationship with most of your collaborators. It sounds like, which is
Yeah,
great.
they're all friends.
Yeah, that's great. I don't criticize, but to me it just seems like there's an element missing with a lot of collaborations that are going on today, where there's people are trading files and they're not really face-to-face. Sometimes they don't even meet. But they produce some fantastic music. I mean, I'm not suggesting that at all, but I do feel like there has to be engagement, human engagement in art still, I believe. But,
Agreed.
yeah. but it's the record is kind of a fusion of jazz, blues, and classic rock. Like I alluded to that Bad Man
Was that
earlier.
I went straight for 70s Van Halen on that one.
Van Halen. I was thinking Iron Maiden. You kind of
No,
gave me
totally
a
Van Halen. I was totally
Van
thinking
Halen.
Van Halen.
Okay, I was getting a Bruce Dickinson vibe from that. Not to
Well, that was
no
pretty much my
cowbell or
vocal.
anything, but
That's kind of for my vocal. That's the.
yeah,
I was, obviously I was angry.
yeah,
There's a really, pretty nasty video that goes with that one that I
yeah.
decided not to
Yeah, I
put
saw the video.
That's how I
The
love the
part
That's
where he
AI.
was, I was thinking the part where he's burning the, who's he what's this, the Constitution. Would that be moral or philosophical?
No, you have to understand. This is interesting because the video, I have dear friends of mine who are extremely talented. That the video was used, AI was only used in that video, A, to find the images and to sort the images out, and B, to animate the images. But what he did is, I have friends of mine, what happens, he's very, very much less measured than I am. In other words, he's ragingly mad. So he just put his vision of my lyrics to that, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty
Yeah.
heavy duty. So I put it up, and then I would take it down, and I would put it up. I'm like, I'm lurching towards contempt, and I'm angry. So the song is angry, and it's exactly how I feel. And this is exactly what I see. You have to understand, I'm a New York City guy. I've seen this go on for many, many years. And I've seen this behavior go on well before he was in power. And so, in other words, and anyone who lives in New York or is from the Northeast has seen this. That's why there's so many people like, no, this really isn't going to be a good idea.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I encourage anybody. I'm not going to play it here, but go check that out. That's a little gem. I really enjoyed that. If you
Yeah,
want,
yeah.
if you're feeling contemptible,
Like the
Yeah, I'm a
cartoonness
teacher.
of it
If
kind
you're
of,
feeling contemptible,
softens the message a little.
If you're angry
I
with
Well, he
it,
said,
yeah,
but if you're angry, but Matt had said that
contemptuous. I think.
Yeah.
contemptuous. Yes. Okay.
Which I think
If
this
you're
is a
feeling
good,
contemptuous toward the contemptible.
Yes.
this might be a good moment for the philosophical question of
Oh yeah. That's our new feature. We got to keep it
Philosophy.
fresh, right? So our philosophical question of the podcast: does your sound as a songwriter have a color?
Ooh.
obviously not. I have never edited what I do and this has really been a giant hindrance to my career, because I would have tons of people. Obviously, I have tons of records out. Many times, record companies have approached me. They would say, "Look, if you just do one style of music, if you just do one thing, then we know what to do with you. We have no idea what to do with you." And I would always tell them, I don't do this for you. I appreciate that, but I am not willing to sacrifice who I am. The reason many people have told me over the years, your style is that you have no style. You have all styles. I have spent my entire life, I've been playing, I play 14 instruments. I have tons of different instruments, and I'm fascinated with everything, every style of music, including incredible amounts of world music. That's where I look. I need to be fed. I need to be inspired. So I look to different instruments. I'm basically an overgrown 12-year-old boy. So to answer your question, I'm like, ooh, that's shiny too. I like this kind of music. How do I do that? And I would learn that music, and then I would say, not to be a master of it, just so I understood what I was hearing.
Right.
And I would be able to, for example, I've spent, 30 years playing bad banjo, what I consider, because I'm not a specialist in the banjo, the same with the mandolin or a ton of these other instruments. I don't specialize in those instruments, but I do learn from the masters. And with all this stuff comes the idea that inevitably your style becomes this. So my color is every color.
Okay. So
Okay,
take all the paints, throw them
ask a
together.
question. If you could spend an hour with any music personality, living or dead, who would Who do you think you'd choose?
Hermeto Pascoal.
Of course.
Hermeto
Is he
Pascoal.
with
the
us
Brazil-
still, or
Nope, he just passed. And he's
Okay.
something who I really encourage. Hermeto Pascoal was a genius Brazilian composer and musician who toured the United States once just a few years ago. But if you ever look through his videos, he is filled with such joy and such virtuosity. I mean, he is a god in Brazil. And in other words, so I recommend that you just check that out because he really is. I mean, I know I just said that instantly.
Yes,
Not
you
that I
did.
knew you were
Yeah.
going to talk about that, but I'm like, I would really like to meet this guy. He looks
Yeah.
like he's just an imp and a fascinating, wonderful child man like
Yeah.
me,
right?
who's never lost their sense of wonder about life and music, who has not
That's
allowed
nice.
negativity to beat them down. I won't let negativity beat me down.
And to this point, I don't think he was mentioned in the Epstein files either.
I don't think so.
The Trump Epstein files, we're
Yeah.
rebranding them.
Yeah, that makes me think that I mean, you had an immediate answer because that was the top of your mind, but do you think it's probable or possible that that might change? You know, like if I
course.
asked, you're right.
You mean
mhm.
Everything's fluid.
the musician living or dead
the
question?
chosen person.
Are
Yeah.
you trying to get him to change his answer to Kid Rock?
No, oh God, no.
No, I really
No,
love.
I just, that's the kind of question that would change with the moment.
Let me answer that question with this statement.
Mhm. Yeah.
I've always been fascinated with instruments from different parts of the world. I've started to understand how they relate to one another and how everything, different parts of music relate globally. And so I was in one of my favorite music stores was run by a guy named Soren Venema in Amsterdam. It was called Palm Guitars. And I would go in there and it was this tiny little store and it has every instrument from all over the world. And I went in there to buy a saz, and that's a Persian instrument. It's called the baglama or the saz. And he said, I asked him, I go, where do I find some, when I learn an instrument, I listen, I try to find the great masters of that instrument so I don't listen to a guitar player trying to play this instrument that they don't.
Right.
So I went to, he goes, well, you can go downtown. There's a big music store that has a world music section. So I went downtown in Amsterdam and I went to the world music section and the guy was Turkish at the world music section. He goes, oh no, we have nothing but bad Turkish pop here. There's a place on the edge of Amsterdam called the Asian Music Center, but you have to have time. And I said, oh, I thought that was interesting. I said, okay. So it's my last day in Amsterdam and I took a tram out to the Asian Music Center and I walked in and there's hundreds of sazes hanging up, and I see these guys smoking cigarettes at a table in the back, and they said, may we help you? And I said, I would like to find some music from the great masters of the saz. I'm a musician from New York and I'm really interested in learning more about it. I just bought one. And he looks at me and he goes, first we must have coffee. And then he spent like 3 hours.
Hey, Turkish coffee for free. I'll take it.
But he explained to me the cultural significance of the saz. He said, saz players from the Middle East will come into my shop and they'll take down a saz and they'll start playing and they won't stop except to smoke a cigarette for 6 hours at a time.
Wow.
So in other words, in the West, we tend to play it music. We tend to play it when we have time. But in the rest of the world, the cultural significance of music and what it means to them is far deeper. It's not just an element of...
That's almost meditative, I guess. Almost a meditative state.
It's religious. It's religious. It's spiritual. Just like the true study of the sitar or any of these other instruments. They're lifelong, they're like, you have to have a apprenticeship, even just to start with it. And I'm not saying that's what I want to do, but what I found that to be interesting about how the rest of the world views music pertains to Western views of music.
Yeah. But that makes me think of when Jimmy Page and Robert Plant went to Morocco, and they were on this musical journey to discover the music of that nation, and that's probably very similar to what they had in mind. That they were trying to get in touch with that spirituality.
I've written 15 books on playing guitar, and a lot of my books are about I wrote a book called Matt Smith's Chop Shop, which is my philosophy and my way of teaching. And in there, I explained that music doesn't come through you. It doesn't come from you. It comes through you. So what we try to do as artists, whether you paint or whether you dance, any form of art, if you think it comes from you, then you don't get it. What we do is we try to train ourselves to be better vessels for the music to pass through us. Because if it comes from you, then you're in the way of it. This whole process of this record came through me. These songs were given to me. They were given to you. That's the best ones.
Yeah.
Some songs come through you instantly. Some songs take years to finish.
It takes me back to that Carlos Santana quote I've used on here before again,
Mm-hmm.
where he says, basically means that musicians are just the conduit for the music. But I think he says, music is the water, the audience is the flowers, and the musicians are the hose.
That's a great analogy.
Well,
Carlos
man.
Santana was always we share the same birthday. So
Congratulations.
anyway,
That's
but
awesome,
I'm like, it's also the day they landed on the moon. My mother, July 20th, my mother said they could have just sent a card.
Well, I won't tell you who I share a birthday with, but
I share birthdays with Weird Al, Johnny Carson, Dwight Yoakam, and Ang Lee.
Wow, that's quite a range of characters right there.
Not bad.
It is.
Mm-hmm. We are eclectic.
And we'll just say Phil's birthday is Flag Day and leave it at that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
all right. So Beatrice brings us, man, she brings us some really, really great musical guests. I have to say, this is like 3 Grand Slams in a row. I mean, you really enriched our show with some wisdom here for sure. But we want to talk about you as a mentor in your six string ranch studio. You've alluded to it a little bit, but let's dive into that a little bit more. Matt, you
These
have
are free range 6 strings going around the place.
What it is for many, many years, I did all the clinics for Command Music, which was Ovation guitars, Takamine guitars, and Hamer guitars. They would hire me to play at all the trade shows like NAMM, or all the big trade shows to be like the guitar player guy. And then I started to do clinics for them. So they would have me travel around giving clinics. And my clinic program became very successful because I didn't just go in and play and leave. I would go in, I would do a concert, and then teach what I was doing to the people that came. And so through that, my clinic program became very, very popular. And I ended up doing it for 20-something years, probably one of the longest running clinicians of that type of thing. It was a great gig because it paid really good money. It grassroots my music around the world. And through that, I became friends with the boss of the company, Bill Command. Bill's father, Charlie Command, invented the helicopter. So that's all part with Sikorsky. So
Wow.
Command was a company in Connecticut that they invented the dual rotor helicopter that you see like a lot of things. So they did that. And through that, the use of the helicopter blades and the wood that comes in the helicopter blades, they invented Ovation guitars and used the fiberglass that surrounded the blades for the backs of the guitar. There's a whole story about that. Anyway, so I did clinics with them for 20-something years, became friends with Bill. And then years later, he said, he started driving through the country, and he stopped in Austin and visited me. And I had a little crappy studio in southern Austin and a converted 2-car garage. And he moved to town, and I said, all right, Bill, let's record your record. So we started recording his record. He looks at me, he goes, do you want to stay here? And I said, in a garage? No, Bill, I don't want to stay here. He goes, all right, write up a business plan. I'm ready to do something else, but I don't want to start another guitar company. And I said, I want to build a place that uses all my skill sets that I've done over the years. Previously to that, I'd been teaching for 20 years at the National Guitar Workshop in Connecticut and around the country. And so I'd always taught, I've written tons of books, all that other stuff, blah, blah. So he said, okay, what do you want to do? I said, I want to build a place where people can come, learn how to play, learn how to write, and then record them. And so, and then I want to have master classes with visiting musicians and make this a place that is just truly unique. I knew that if I started a recording studio, there's a gazillion recording studios. Everyone is struggling because no musicians are making any money from recorded music. But I said, I know there's a demographic out there, which are people our age, which are the returning professional, people that grew up playing music, then stopped playing music so they could raise their families and got a job. But now their kids are grown, they're approaching retirement. They want to play music again, but they don't know what to do. They don't want to get in a van. So I said, that's my demographic. People that want to return, the returning professional.
Yeah.
So that's who I teach, are these people. They're basically baby boomers like me who grew up loving music. And then what I do is I say, look, if you don't know how to, I teach them how to play, and I say, it's really important for you to write songs. That way, your great-grandchildren that you may never meet will be able to, will know you through the sound of your voice and will hear your philosophies through your songs. And they always say, that's a great idea. What do you want to say to your great-grandchildren? Tell them life is tough. They're going to experience a lot of really difficulties, but it's going to be okay because they're surrounded by love. And so I started doing that, and so I'm always busy. As a friend of mine said, how busy do you want to be? I said, all I want to do is continue to be able to do what I love, which is write and record and play music for the rest of my life. So he basically said, all right, will this place work? And he showed me this place in Austin. And I said, yeah, it's beautiful. He said, okay, I just bought it. Here's the credit card. Do what you need to do. I'm going to tell you two things. I'm going to stay out of your way, and I'm not really concerned about how much money the studio makes. I'm fine. So basically, he like took a magic wand and said, here's your magic, here's your dream come true.
Wow.
And that's
Excellent.
And so that's what Six String Ranch is, and that's why I'm here 7 days a week. It's
awesome.
my, it's like, where else would I want to be?
Right.
Even though Austin is an amazing place filled with amazing guitar stores and amazing places, everything I need is right here.
Right. So what our friend Tim was a guitar player, and he told Aaron one time, "You'll never be a guitar player." And I don't know.
He tried to show me a few things, and I couldn't do something with my pinky.
Yeah.
And after about 10-15 minutes, he said, forget it, man. It's hopeless. You'll never play guitar.
Have you ever had to tell somebody that? I mean, have you ever just?
I've never
Well,
lost the patient. Never lost
he was wrong. The thing was, I believed him.
This is what happens a lot of times with, unfortunately, I always say this to people who are looking for a teacher. I always say, you wouldn't go to just any dentist, would you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't just take your guitar or your car to any mechanic. You'd want to know that they weren't going to like rob you or they weren't going to charge you. You know, it's the same thing with why would guitar teachers be any different? You need someone who, first of all, I don't just take any student. I do not take any student. I need to have a conversation with them first about what their goals are and how I can help them. In other words, and even for me with my clients in the studio, if someone comes to me and they say, I want to record my songs, I'll always ask them, do you want to get better? And if they say, no, I just want to record my songs, I'll say, well, there's probably 200 studios in Austin. I'm probably not your guy. That's not what I do. I don't press record on people's stuff. I want people to get to be the best they can possibly be, not what I think they should be, but I want them to live up to their potential.
Yeah.
And so as long as someone's willing to learn and willing to grow, I'll work with anybody regardless of their level.
Well, Tim, we miss Tim. He was a fantastic, beautiful guy.
Sorry
But,
to hear he's not
that's
around
probably-
anymore.
He's not around anymore.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But you know, I don't really think that's the reason Aaron's not touring with Fish or something today.
I would have been a front man or a drummer. I think guitar wasn't my path.
But okay, man, this has been a great
Probably also
conversation.
been dead at 27.
Talking to Matt Smith, his album "This Is Not Okay." So,
I
what do you
had
think?
a couple questions.
Yeah,
Other
go ahead.
than the Six String Ranch, what's your favorite public music venue in Austin that you've been to or played at?
Wow. there's so many coming and so many, you know, I really love the Austin City Limits room, which is beautiful. But then we have amazing clubs here, like the Saxon Pub and Antone's and a bunch of other rooms that are just great. Which, you know, I've played at them over the years, but there's a lot of I think it's interesting because we're just about to go into South by Southwest, which is an amazing phenomena here in Austin. Basically, there's 12,500 musicians here in Austin. One of the reasons that there's so many musicians here is because we have things like the Health Alliance for Austin Musicians, which help musicians with their premiums for the Affordable Care Act. And then there's other things. There's so many. Austin is known as the live music capital of the world, which is sometimes questionable. But and also the policies of the city government and what they actually do to help musicians has been going has been a lot better due to a lot of the work of the Austin music societies that are here, including the Musicians Union, which I'm a proud member of, and also Austin, Texas Musicians and other organizations which advocate for Austin musicians. But South by Southwest is really interesting because, again, like I said, probably 2,500 bands here, another 1,500 bands come in, and then they're all playing multiple shows everywhere around Austin. So it becomes a complete, you know, just madhouse of music for about 10 days. Unfortunately, it doesn't really benefit a lot of the local musicians here, who are all struggling because there are so many clubs. It also means that no one's getting paid very much at all. And the competition for good shows is pretty brutal. But like anywhere, cream rises to the top, and it generally does.
So the answer's not like Armadillo World Headquarters or Liberty Lunch.
Gone. They're both Liberty. Yeah. They're both long gone. Those places. Austin has a beautiful and a really. The reason why I loved Austin so much is because it's the local community makes a lifestyle of going to see live music. There's always an audience for you. Even though there's so many clubs, there's always like an audience there. It may not be a huge audience, but they're always enthusiastic. So it's a great place to play. I remember when I was living in New York and we would come down here to play, it would always be New Yorkers, like, no matter how good your band is, people are like, yeah, man, you guys are pretty good. And also like, woo! And so you're like, well, what's more fun to play with?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
New Yorkers more jaded, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times when it comes to audiences like that, they came there to enjoy themselves.
Well,
you know,
I think
it's not background for their life. It's
yeah,
what
exactly.
they're doing right now.
Yeah, no, they're there to hear music. And the great thing about Austin, they're here to hear your music, not the latest version of your Nirvana cover or whatever else, you know. So it's really an original music town. And that's what attracted me to it. Plus,
when did you move to Austin?
2009.
Okay. So coming up on 20 years.
Yeah.
That would be a good destination for a trip, I think.
You guys should come and film here.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Just
do
do a
one
show
live
from
from the
Austin.
studio. Yeah.
You guys can do it live from Six String Ranch. I would happily, obviously I got all the stuff here to take care of it. So if you guys want to come down, you guys come down to Austin and you can do it live from Six String Ranch.
We just have to get with our travel agent.
Yeah, maybe meet up with Aaron there too.
And work out your dialysis schedule.
That's our travel.